Welcome to our channel. Today we're delving into the dark side of Hollywood as we explore the worst alcoholics in its history. From legendary actors to beloved actresses, the allure of fame often came hand in hand with the perils of addiction. Join us as we uncover the stories of those who struggled with alcoholism in Tinseltown. Now, let's get started. Humphrey Bogart. He has been called the greatest male actor in the history of American cinema, with multiple Oscar nominations and performances in classics like Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, The African Queen, and countless others. It's not hard to see how Bogey has become one of the most respected in the pantheon of Hollywood thespians. However, in his personal life, Bogart was known as quite the drinker. One of his friends said, "Bogart's a hell of a nice guy until around 11:30 p.m. After that, he thinks he's Bogart." Then, he could become angry, stubborn, or even abusive when drunk. And later on in his illustrious career, it began to affect his work, as he frequently came to the set either drunk or hungover. He once showed up in his pajamas, refusing to work, and instead riding around the Warner Brothers studio on a bicycle. During his filming of the adventure film Sahara, he reportedly refused to leave his dressing room until his wife at the time, Mayo Method, brought him a thermos of martini. Even off the set, Bogart could rarely last long without getting smashed, once drunkenly leaving a restaurant with their safe before deserting it on Beverly Hills Boulevard. He even got dragged into court after assaulting a few women who had tried to take off with the toy panda that he had brought to an exclusive club as a drinking partner. Though he drank with the likes of Richard Burton and Frank Sinatra, he still got into trouble and became banned from pubs, bars, and clubs. His long-term love of drinking and smoking had a terrible effect on him in later years, as he was diagnosed with cancer in 1956 and died shortly after. Even in his last days, he could still be found with a glass of sherry in hand. He once jokingly claimed that he had been on the wagon only once in his life, citing it as the most miserable afternoon of his life. Oliver Reed. During the late 60s and early 70s, this English actor was one of the biggest box office draws in Britain. Renowned for his performances in films like The Trap, Oliver, and the Three Musketeers series, his persona off-screen wasn't as charming as those he played for the camera. He once confessed that he did not live in the world of sobriety. No truer words could have been spoken. Fellow actor and producer David Hemmings claimed that Reed could drink 20 pints of lager with a gin or creme de menthe chaser and still run a mile for a wager, and that he once drank 126 pints of beer in 24 hours and then performed a horizontal handstand on the bar. Known for wreaking havoc during his inebriated states, which included tomfoolery, violence, and infidelity, stories of his actions while intoxicated abound. In 1980, for instance, he went to a church for a christening so drunk that he swayed back and forth while standing, and at a reception held later, he held the baby in his arms and stumbled up and down the room pretending to play rugby with the child as the ball. He was also known for exposing his tattooed penis in public, bringing attention to it as his mighty mallet. He once climbed a chimney naked pretending to be Santa Claus, urinated on the Australian flag, and lay drunk on an airport baggage conveyor. Before he had completed the shooting of his final film Gladiator, he went to a pub one night and drank 8 bottles of beer, 3 bottles of rum, and a few shots of whiskey before finally suffering a heart attack and dying shortly after. Looking back at his fascinating life, Reed often claimed he had just one regret, which was that he didn't drink every pub dry and sleep with every woman on the planet. Errol Flynn. The original ladies' man, lauded as the definitive symbol of masculinity and virility, Errol Flynn is remembered as the archetypal swashbuckler in films playing heroes like Robin Hood and Captain Blood. Off-screen, however, his life was debauched, depraved, and daring to the highest extreme. A notorious womanizer, brawler, and cocaine user, he was also known for his love of the bottle. A drinking partner of Cuba's Fidel Castro himself, Flynn's fondness for alcohol was well documented. For example, a bachelor pad that he shared with actor David Niven in Malibu was so notorious for the copious amount of alcohol drunk there that it was nicknamed Cirrhosis by the Sea. He also hosted sex, alcohol, and cocaine-fueled parties on his private boat. He would even show up to his film set smashed, once drunkenly wagering the film crew $500 that he could bed his co-star Olivia de Havilland. His decadent lifestyle caused him to collapse in an elevator in his early 30s, after which a doctor told him that his heart and lungs had been damaged. He nevertheless continued in his overindulgence, and he died at the age of 50 of a heart attack, his body bloated, overweight, and stricken with cirrhosis. Richard Burton, a magnificent actor famed for his dynamic style, baritone voice, and relationship with Elizabeth Taylor. Richard Burton was described as a successor to the great Laurence Olivier and can still be seen in brilliant performances in films like his Oscar-nominated Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. But old habits die hard. Burton claimed that he started drinking at the age of 12, and at his worst, he was drinking 3 bottles of vodka a day. In fact, during his filming of The Klansman, he was barely able to stand, and therefore took many of his shots sitting or lying down. Off-screen, he wasn't much better. He once downed 21 shots of tequila before diving into the sea when he heard of a reported shark sighting. In 1974, Burton almost died from a binge on hard liquor, and even a few years before, in 1970, doctors had warned him that alcohol abuse would eventually kill him. His destructive habit had caused his kidneys to grow to abnormal proportions, and his spine was found to be covered with crystallized alcohol. Ignoring the advice of medical professionals, this marvelous Welsh actor's career ended abruptly in 1984, with his death at the age of 58, his body riddled with the effects of alcoholism. Barbara Payton. Starting out as a small-town Minnesota girl, this gorgeous blonde ran off to Hollywood, and it wasn't long before she became one of the biggest stars of the 1940s and 1950s, starring alongside acting greats like James Cagney, Gary Cooper, and Gregory Peck. However, Payton's personal life was a chaotic disaster, chock full of affairs with seemingly every man she encountered, violent relationships, shoplifting, prostitution, and numerous run-ins with the police. The only thing that seemed to offer any stability to this troubled actress was the bottle. Primarily in the 1960s, her alcoholism worsened. After losing custody of her son due to her debauched lifestyle, Payton's life unraveled even further. For instance, in 1962, she was charged with public drunkenness after being found sleeping at a Sunset Boulevard bus stop dressed in a coat and bathing suit, and she was arrested the same year for drunk and disorderly conduct during a boisterous afternoon party. It wasn't long after that she was spending night after night in bars and pubs, and at the age of 39, she was found dead of heart and liver disease, her appearance so altered that she could hardly be identified. Bernard Lee. With 50 years of acting under his belt and over 100 film and television credits to his name, Lee certainly kept busy as a thespian. Starting at the age of 6 and dabbling in stage productions before becoming renowned in film, his most notable work is surely as M, the head of the British Secret Service in 11 of the James Bond movies. However, the tragic death of his beloved wife in a house fire, a vicious mugging, and unpaid debts caused Lee to sink into depression and alcohol abuse. In fact, his addiction was allegedly so strong that he was locked in his dressing room during breaks from the filming of the Edgar Wallace television series to prevent him from drinking. Still, Lee reportedly found a way. He hired a person to feed a straw through the keyhole, thus allowing him to enjoy it. In fact, prolific drinker Richard Burton purportedly admitted that he wasn't in the same league as Lee, who once drank him under the table. At the age of 73, Lee passed away due to stomach cancer, which can be and was most likely caused by his excessive alcohol consumption. As we conclude our exploration of Hollywood's worst alcoholics, let's remember the cautionary tales and the importance of seeking help when needed. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Take care, and until next time, goodbye.